On today's Cowboys Report, we're breaking down some free agency winners and losers. I don't know if Dallas is going to make any more deals of notes. They've been pretty quiet the past couple days in a row now. And this is kind of more big picture. It's not about the individual deals and like what deal was great or bad. We'll break all those down in depth later on. I'm talking like big picture, wide view look of some guys that are kind of already on the roster even. Now, if you want more free at Cowboys videos, we've already broken down every single signing this team ended up making. But we'll have more throughout the free agency, the draft, offseason, training camp, etc. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. First winner is all the different incumbent wide receivers on this team because all the Cowboys did was add Parris Campbell. Still waiting on the Parris Campbell contract details. At some point, we'll get the fact that it's a 1-year private vet minimum, little to no guarantee. But I want to have it official first, right? And he's not a real threat to steal snaps, I don't think. He was off and on the Eagles practice squad last year. This is a kind of a rare camp body signing from the Cowboys. So if you're Jalen Tolbert, if you're Kevontae Turpin, if you're Jonathan Mingo, if you're Jalen Brooks, if you're Ryan Flournoy, you're going, okay, I still got a chance here. Now, Tolbert was the receiver really at 2 last year. He was better. The touchdown numbers actually look pretty good, but I didn't see enough consistency on the outside. And I'm hoping for a fourth-year breakout, but I want to put Tolbert as my receiver 3. And I think they're going to draft somebody, but as of right now, this hasn't been a draft and sign somebody big class, which benefits Tolbert. Turpin did re-sign on a multi-year deal. We'll see if he gets more touches. I have my doubts. I think he is a horizontal stretcher, not a vertical stretcher. But he can still carve out a role. Jonathan Mingo, who may benefits the most out of anybody to not have all these changes going on in the wide receiver room, he didn't do anything with Dallas. And look, the targets were high. There were a bunch of drops. The passes weren't very good. We could acknowledge that. He was your 4th-round pick at wide receiver, which was a bad pick, but you have to get more at that spot. Ryan Flournoy was a day 3 pick last year. He's fighting for a roster spot. Same way Jalen Brooks, who was a 7th-round pick 2 years ago, has been fighting for a roster spot. The fewer bodies, especially early round ones, the Cowboys add or big money free agents they add, better chance those guys can carve out a role, even though I would bet probably one of Brooks and Flournoy is not on the active roster, barring injuries. I think a lot of us want to go get a receiver. I think they will get a receiver, but so far they haven't, really. So be honest with me. What is your confidence level in this Cowboys wide receiver room? Scale it from 1 to 10 to pin comment. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. 1 to 10 is your scale. Tyler Guyton Terence Steele, also free agency winners for me because the Cowboys, have had praise. We'll get to the Brian Schottenheimer clip from the Combine here in a little bit. But the Cowboys have had praise for Guyton. They've had praise for Steele, both public and even leaked stuff to media. And they haven't added any competition. They haven't brought in anybody else to pursue and consider and break down. It's all just been, we're going to ride with Guyton and we'll ride with Steele. Plus, Brian Schottenheimer had this to say at the NFL Combine.
You watch Cooper Beebe, Tyler Guyton, those guys. Tyler Guyton's been in the weight room every day. He's working his ass off. And to me, that's really exciting. But I think the influence of Clayton, the influence of Connor Riley, I think that package was so important for us, and I think we hit a home run.
Look, there's always the chance the Cowboys are just saying the right thing publicly and their actions will speak differently, but they haven't done anything to indicate that they're not extremely comfortable going into the year with Guyton and Steele. Guyton has to be better. I think we all know that. The penalties were way too damn high. You can't have over a penalty per game. That is unacceptable. You got to get that number down. If you get the penalties down, I think we all feel actually better about his play, and some of the technique stuff should continue to grow as he gets more playing time. And in theory, the coaching staff needs to benefit Guyton and Terence Steele. I think Clayton Adams thinks he can get a lot more out of Steele than what the previous regime did. That's kind of the vibe and the guess I have for this Cowboys team. Plus, Adams, frankly, kind of said pretty similar stuff. It's a lot of risk involved there, but you did pay him and spend a first-round pick on a tackle. So I actually don't hate the Cowboys plan to let those two guys go and play, and we can always revisit it again next year. Next up is Will Grier. Look, he's the backup quarterback right now. There's nobody else on the roster at QB at this moment. It's Dak and it's Grier. With Rush gone, off to Baltimore, and I think Lance still unlikely to return, there's no other quarterback 2 option. Now, I think the Cowboys are still going to draft somebody. We haven't seen Will Grier play a real football game, non-preseason, since 2019, which is kind of insane to think about there. I bet they draft a player. But still, like, he went from, like, practice squad pickup, late season, whatever, and now we're riding with Hayes, the quarterback 2. Makes him an obvious winner, at least for now. Again, this can all change later. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It is available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. They invented the flex play, which means if you get one wrong, you can still cash out. You can double your money even if one of those picks ends up being wrong. This is my one of the football Prize Pick slates we got here. Jared Goff, less than passing yards. Travis Kelce, less than receiving yards. And Jaden Daniels, less than rushing yards. I like more thans mostly. I think the less thans are the right play there. Go download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Next up on the free agency winners, Israel Mukuamu. That is the corner. Look, he did not get a lot on his deal. It was a pretty cheap, non-guaranteed deal. This could be your 2024 version, or 2025 version, of Rico Dowdle, where he didn't get paid big money, but he's got a path to playing time, and he's shown some promise. The staff likes him when he's been given a chance to play. As of right now, he's probably your day one starter at nickel. It's probably Deron Bland, and then Kaiir Elam, Kalen Carson on the outside, and Izzy at the nickel spot. By the way, I don't like that. That's not a great grouping. But every time I've seen Mukuamu get a chance to play, good things have happened. He's got fantastic length, which we know the Cowboys like. He's bigger than most nickel corners, but I actually want to see what he's able to do. But it would not stop me from drafting a nickel if I like one. I want you to name a Cowboys free agency winner for me. Let me know in the comments section of today's show who you think is a winner for the Cowboys in free agency. This next winner ties right into the loser side, by the way. But it's the Cowboys pie. It is virtually untouched. For all the Cowboys have done, they have signed all these different players and outside free agents, knowing that as of them, we don't quite know all the details yet on the Cowboys contracts. The Cowboys have around $40 million in salary cap space still. Thereabouts. Some sites say 38. It's probably right around the $40 million mark there. Not including your draft picks, which will count about 6-ish, by the way, when it's all said and done. That's it. They've got a lot of money to spend. The pie, hasn't really been consumed yet because the Cowboys never seemed to do it. I want you to grade the Cowboys free agency moves A, B, C, D, or F. So far, how do you feel about what they've done? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. A, B, C, D, or F. Some losers. The Cowboys, if we believe the reports from ESPN, The Athletic, and others, they did try to add some bigger names. They just didn't get them. Todd Arch said they were very much in on Brandon Stevens, but he got 3 years, 36 from the Jets. Dre Greenlaw got $331.5 from Denver. Maybe he and Travarius Ward weren't going to pick the Cowboys as their landing spot, but they were allegedly involved in all 3 of those options. But they didn't land any of them. Been a while since they actually won a bit of a bidding war. They seem to be a little bit too concerned about not losing the deal in free agency. Next up is Damone Clark, and I would not be surprised if we get to September and he's not on the roster on his current contract. The Cowboys added 2 linebackers to play ahead of Damone Clark, Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn. Clark has about a $3.26 million base salary. the Cowboys could save that if they cut him. It's a lot of money to save for a number 4 at best linebacker right now, and that's with a healthy DeMarvion Overshown. Murray's going to be ahead of him. Sanborn's going to be ahead of him. Leofau's going to be ahead of him. Once Overshown's healthy, he's going to be ahead of Damone Clark. It's a lot to pay for a guy that, look, I don't always want a stat sheet hunt. It's a bad idea. But I do think just the lack of splash impact plays by Damone Clark, A, on the film, but B, in the stat sheet too, is indicative of, like, okay, he makes some tackles, but, he's not an impact linebacker. I think the additions of Murray and Sanborn are a sign of this team is about to be out on Damone Clark, especially if and when they draft somebody too. So name a Cowboys free agency loser for me. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Next up, it's the Micah Parsons situation. Because again, the Cowboys didn't play this right. Imagine if they had done everything in their power. They clearly did not. Imagine if they had them in their power to pay Micah Parsons early. If they tried to pay him last year instead of waiting. The Cowboys have yet to do so. The market, as it always does, has only gone up. And in the end, that probably hurts the Dallas Cowboys more than anyone else. It's going to be $40.5 million and like 70% guaranteed and a record-setting deal. I am firm, I believe, that it's going to happen. It will get done. When it gets done is the question mark. It shouldn't take long to do. It could be done in a day if the Cowboys really wanted to. And all parties involved really wanted to. That has not happened since, for some reason, this team in particular has a tough time getting their top-of-the-market guys paid. Now, on that note, if you haven't already, we are doing the Micah decision pool. 50-50 split the pot for the person with the closest correct guess on when Micah Parsons signs or, I guess, ends up getting traded. If, a decision ends up getting made. Venmo me at WhatGoingDowney with your date and $5 to enter. You can also go to chatsports.com/Micah to see the entries in there so far. There are a couple. That way you don't pick the exact same one as somebody else if you can avoid it. Final loser here is Deuce Vaughn, the running back. The Cowboys have signed 2. They added Javonte Williams. They added Miles Sanders. Now, those guys' contracts are not indicative of a guaranteed roster spot, but they're going to draft at least one. So Deuce Vaughn is very much on the roster bubble. I saw, especially in 2024, he made some good stuff happen once he finally got the ball, but he hasn't gotten the football on a very consistent basis. And at his size, there are always going to be concerns there. So I think you do run into the issue of, hey, is this somebody you trust to be a key part? With limited special teams value, it's tough to make it as that RB3.